On this Saturday, we are learning more about the London terrorist who killed 4, including 1 American this week. Shocking, he has deep ties to Saudi Arabia and lived there at least twice. Another couple of dots the British didn't connect in the lead up to the attack. The relatively unsophisticated London attack comes as both the United States and British sound the alarm bells about how terrorists might hide bombs in laptops and then sneak them onto U.S.-bound airliners. Former TSA Deputy Director Tom Blank for some insight and analysis. And Tom, every time after one of these attacks, whether it is a lone wolf who drives a car into a crowd or whether it is a more sophisticated plot that involves something like the San Bernardino attack, you go back and you look in these people's history and you go, oh, gee, how did we miss this? And it seems like with London, here we go again.
Well, the terrorist threat is like an octopus. It comes at you from many, many different directions. And it's a balancing act so that you can maintain civil freedoms, privacy risks in the society and not devote and not abandon our values. At the same time, we're trying to keep people free. Finding that balance can be a very difficult proposition.
It always can be a difficult proposition, and the one word that everyone keeps coming back to when we have this discussion is they talk about balancing the privacy concerns of everybody. On the other hand, when you have somebody who has a violent criminal history, so therefore they're known to the authorities, they go to Saudi Arabia a couple of times, they change their name from Adrian, at least that's what we think his name was, to Masood, and then uses multiple aliases. At some point, does the society say, by those actions, you've given up a certain number of your rights to privacy, and wouldn't that make all of us safer?
It depends over what period of time. In other words, when we look at these sort of lone wolf attacks, and this one may not be lone wolf, by the way, since there have been 9 people arrested that are associated with him. But think about a lone wolf. We do know that they travel to countries that sponsor terrorism. We do know that they seem to be disassociated from society.
Often violent in their backgrounds for other reasons.
Often violent. They have interacted with authorities. We know that that's a given. But that fits so many people. Over what period of time should we surveil these people? Months, weeks, or years in order to prevent this kind of one-off lone wolf event?
Well, and you think about it, even the best surveillance in the world on this fellow, had they been trailing him as he drove down Westminster Bridge, may not have stopped it until it was stopped and he crashed in to Westminster itself. And it brings us to this sort of divide now that we've seen. Terror up until 2001 was sort of these one-off, well-planned attacks. Then you had September 11th, which is extraordinarily sophisticated in its planning and in its execution. And now we're at the point where we have sort of both things happening. These unsophisticated attacks in London with cars started in the West Bank. And then you have these very sophisticated attacks that are being planned, allegedly. We just learned about the idea that now you can't bring laptops on some planes because the terrorists are working to hide a bomb in a laptop and then take it through airports that have less than stellar security.
Well, addressing the aviation domain, we know that the terrorists remain highly interested in that as an avenue of attack. It's because it's so terribly disruptive. Now, what had happened in this instance is that we know that bombs and bomb materials are constantly being reviewed, updated, and changed. And that means that our airport security systems, whether that's technology, whether that's people, have to constantly be alert for changes in order to defend properly. In this case, it looks like actionable intelligence came to the U.S., and the U.S. Only has certain control over those foreign carriers.
Right. So it says, all right, you know, these foreign carriers are not. Although a lot of questions about whether or not it's comprehensive enough. If somebody could just take a bomb from Cairo to Paris and then get on a U.S.-bound flight. Tom, appreciate your insights as always. Hopefully we don't have to have you back and talk about it once an attack on an airplane has happened.
Thanks very much.
All right.